Hello there. This is a little tiny introduction to the books in Catalog 124. I've never done a video just for a catalog, and I really like the idea. Hopefully you guys do too. So I just kind of whipped these books together to give you a little bit of an idea of different kinds of bindings that are out there. And this is something I've noticed a lot of my customers are a little confused about. And also, I use a certain amount of terminology that is a little unusual. But we're going to start with paper bound, and these are all from the catalog, so this isn't an exhaustive treatise on paperback bindings or anything. So we've all seen books like this, I'm sure. This is a glued book that is not sewn. The binding is not sewn. Okay, so once you open this all the way, and if the glue is old, it will crack, and eventually the pages will start to fall out. This is a remarkable survivor. I don't think I've ever seen a book like this. I mean, this title that's intact. And I never keep books in plastic, but that one I am. This is a really good example of a book that is cracked. And this is kind of a tisk on Stanford. They didn't sew this, and you can see the cracking right there. And this book is actually new. I had it in my shop, and it didn't sell. And clearly some customer opened it wide and bang. Of course, customers don't know. That's why sewn books should be so important. This is kind of a double example here. Okay, so this is the original printings of Ambics. It's described in the catalog. And they're sewn. And they're printed on really good paper. You can just see, like, well, this one doesn't have that many illustrations, but the illustrations come out really nicely. And here is their reprint. So when they ran out of those originals, slowly but surely they started to replace the set. And guess what? They're glued. It's still a pretty good binding. They do this tape binding, which I don't like, but actually the interior is not that bad. Yeah. I probably make too much of a big of a deal over reprints. Okay, so now we're going to do bindings. So, okay, this is a distinction that I make in the catalog all the time, and I think it doesn't, most people could care less probably, but it really is a certain distinction. It's the distinction between cloth binding and paperback binding. Okay, so this... not paperback, paper binding, which the term I use is hardback or hardbound. This is, besides being a remarkable book, really nice cloth. And there's a lot of reasons why cloth is better than boards. Okay, I know I just used 3 different terms here, but this also fantastic book, which I really loved. It's a little hard for people to see because these people, they in some cases, maybe not quite this one, but they print or they emboss the paper to make it look like there's a fabric there. And so the biggest reason why cloth is better, or at least good cloth, is damp. Damp on these, cardboard bindings is what they really are. Okay, that's the 4th term. It's really hard on them. Whereas cloth, it doesn't warp so much. See, you can even see. In fact, here's a little lesson I can share. Like, people always ask me, how do I preserve books? And the number one way, and no librarian or archivist will argue with this, it's to keep the books tight on the shelf, not super tight, because air and moisture, when the book is like this, gets in. And then pretty soon it starts to expand. And that's really the end of the book, basically. So that's the cloth book. Now here's a really good example of a quality library binding, but cheaply done. Okay, this is the Ficino biography. So you can see this is, let's see, I'll bet this was a paperback. Yeah, I'm sure this is wrappers. And I don't know if it was originally sewn, but it's clearly sewn right there. In fact, there's a thread we just, can you see this? Can you see the threads in there? Yeah, I don't have my glasses on. I'm not sure if you can. But you see, you can bend this book around. I mean, I don't like doing that too much, and I didn't need to do that. But you do that on a book like this, with not only boards, but not sewn. Nope, not sewn. It's not going to last very long. This, okay, Bollingen, one of my favorite publishers. My goodness. I used to know a customer when I was at Valencia Used and Rare Books in San Francisco on the Mission, who had been collecting Bollingen books for a long time, and he had almost all of them, which is, that's just wild. But everything about these books is just wonderful. Am I shouting? I think I'm shouting. And I love how they very frequently do this two types of cloth. I've never come up with a good term for that. They're different cloth, different colors. You can see it's different cloth altogether, but it sure does a nice job. And there's the Gnostic cross, which they took from Jung. Jung's. Okay, so this is cloth. Let's see. I think you can pretty see that maybe. It's easier to feel it, okay? But the other reason I pulled this book out is because, now this is a Martino reprint of a very famous UFO bibliography. I used to do reprints with Maurizio, and he started out doing really, really nice reprints. But this is just about as plain as you can get. There's just no... Although, now that I look at this, yeah, it's actually well printed in here, but it's glued. And you can't have that for a scholarly book that's going to be used over and over and over again. For a novel that most people read once, yeah. Okay, I'm shouting again. This is, what do you think? You think this is leather? Looks like it's a leather binding. It's not only leather, it is leather, but it's what they call, I just forgot the term. What is it? It's too late in the day here.
Pressed leather. It's
yeah. Well, what it is it's basically leather pieces that would normally be trash, and they grind them up into a powder, and they add a glue. I mean, I'm sure it's a very sophisticated process. And, do this. And so it is technically leather. So they can say it's in a leather binding, which really bothers me. And here we've got imitation marbled end papers, but not too bad. And this kind of gilding, this is not real gilding. It sure looks like it. If I had a really good gilt binding here, I could show you the real stuff. But all in all, I used to not despise, but I never really liked these books. These, puffery and fake. But now, and this is a very, very hard book to find. Benet. It's really like one of the monumental books on animal magnetism. Yeah, Crabtree wrote a pretty long monograph on this. And then, okay, so now we're still in bindings. This is, in my catalogs, and I think in a lot of other catalogs, we would call this glossy boards. And this is another binding I never used to like, but I've learned to like these. They're not as good as cloth, although if water fell on this, better than that. And we think, oh, well, I'm not going to get water on my book, but we're the caretakers of these books and we want them to last hundreds of years into the future. That's why we have these old and rare books, is because people took care of them and binders and printers did a good job. I can't remember if this is sewn. But look at this. This is a monumental work. I mean, there's no, look at the bibliography. There's no book on UFOs like this at all. Yeah, all the work that went in this. And it's a little hard to tell, but yeah, I think that's sewn. Yeah, that's sewn, yeah, as it should be. Okay, so then we're wrapping it up here. I'm just going to show you a couple leather bindings. I mean, this place is full of leather bindings, but these are in the catalog. Okay, this is a magnificent binding by all standards. And I got it from you. That's funny, like probably 20 years ago. It does have this little snag here, but otherwise it's in really nice condition. So this is a leather spine, cloth covers. It's you know, you wouldn't, yeah, well, it's, I forgot the term now.
Stamped?
Yeah, no, yeah, stamped. It is stamped. But, so everything is good about this. I forget, let's see. Well, it's not gilt edge, but you can see right here, this book, there's very little space going on here. And when it was on the shelf, there's like no space. So no air, no water, or at least minimal. And also, oh yeah, these, yeah, let's see. Yeah, these are printed. And these aren't imitation marbled end papers. This is a kind of old Victorian style that they've redone. And sometimes you can tell that it's printed, that it's blank on the other side. Boy, you can really feel that. And yeah, I think this might be the greatest book in Spanish on masonry. Wow, look at all the stuff they packed into that title page. That's a lot. I like it. So, oh, this is some insert of something or other. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Now, that's not as nice color as some of the other plates. So you have to wonder how that was printed. Some of the other plates are really magnificent. So, and there's a fair amount of kind of silly stuff in here. I mean, not silly stuff, but I don't know, pedestrian, mundane, and I think that came out of there. And then, oh yeah, these cloth bindings here. I wanted to make one other point about cloth bindings. So, sewing is so important with large books, and so is the quality of the binding. And Oxford has just gone off the rails for quite a while now. They're binding huge books in these crappy. This is cardboard. It's, yeah. They should just say cardboard, okay? Because it's cardboard covered by paper. Oh, here you can see how they I don't know how they do it, but doesn't it look like cloth? It has like the fabric or the threads or whatever. And then, this is a great comparison, by the way. Okay, maybe a little unfair. This is quite newer. I forget, this is, I think, 1975. You'll see right away. This is a very, or hopefully you see right away, this is a very substantial cloth binding. And, you know, the boards are thicker. Everything about it is thicker. And, oh, wait, no, I want to, yeah, so this is sewn. You can easily see, well, no, easily see this. You know, I want to look at that Oxford Classical Dictionary because I kind of remember it not being sewn. It's going to be easier to do. Oh, sorry. It's going to be easier doing it. Oh, actually, it is sewn. Okay. Well, that's good. At least it's sewn. I know. I probably make too big a deal about that, but... And then here's the piece de resistance. This thing is just fantastic. You just don't, you can't, it's, even for older books. I know a lot of people think it's kind of a plain binding, but this is Morocco leather, which is a very hard leather, lasts a long time. We've got marbled boards, raised bands. It's in perfect condition. Marbled edges, and I think marbled end papers. Yeah, look at that. Is that beautiful or what? I mean, and this is a particularly nice marbling. And the paper's thick and everything. Yeah. So this, this I got at an auction. It looks like. I kind of don't want to sell this, but oh, and then the author. If anybody out there knows who this guy is, I've only found little bits about him. And the confusing thing is there's another J. Thomas who lived right at the same time, who was also an American and was also a medical doctor, who was also an author, although he didn't write on these kind of subjects. And so there we have it, just a little introduction, just a tiny little introduction. I'm going to do a much bigger one later where we cover how books are made and that kind of thing. Hopefully you learned something.